The top actor always wears a jasmine bracelet, and the media have been digging into its origins for years without any results. Later, the rising star Violet made headlines for wearing the same bracelet. Everyone was shipping them hard, claiming they were a match made in heaven. No one knew how ugly the actor looked when he received this bracelet from me. You're the first person who dared to break up with me. 1. The hashtag #Violet Danielle matching bracelet quickly topped the trending charts. When I checked Weibo, Violet's fans were celebrating like it was New Year's. Anyone who's attentive knows that the popular actor Daniel has a cherished item, the jasmine bracelet on his wrist. Aside from filming, he wears it 11 out of 10 days. No matter how deep the netizens dug, they found no clues. Until today, Violet posted a photo of the same bracelet on Weibo, with the caption, "A subtle little update, thanks to someone." The suggestive text, combined with the matching jasmine bracelet, exploded on Weibo. Oh my gosh, what did I just see? Could Violet and Daniel actually be having a secret romance? I'm dying from shipping them. I've suspected something between them for a while, but didn't expect them to be subtly dropping sugar. CP fans are ecstatic. Violet's fans swarmed Weibo, even creating a new CP fan forum. Netizens went wild, shipping them alive and dead. They even edited together a bunch of pink bubble videos of the two. Seeing this, I smiled. I had given Daniel this bracelet when I broke up with him. At the time, Daniel, with red eyes, had hugged me from behind. He cried like a fool. If his fans knew he was like this privately, I wonder if they'd turn on him. I chuckled. A notification dinged on my phone. It was from Daniel. I don't know where Violet's bracelet came from. As a representative of male ethics, I wouldn't give a bracelet to every girl I meet. I sighed and deleted the chat. A representative of male ethics. What's that supposed to mean? 2. I've always been the perennial second female lead in the entertainment industry. Because I often play roles involving scheming and intrigue, I don't have a great reputation among the public. I just finished filming a drama with Violet, where she played the lead and I was the second female lead. The drama became a big hit, and my acting received recognition from fans, boosting my follower count. Since then, various marketing accounts have started churning out negative press about me. Allegations of seducing male actors on set, being difficult to work with, and other scandals emerged one after another. On the other hand, Violet's marketing accounts praised her for being beautiful and kind-hearted. In comparison, my fans dwindled even further. At that time, I thought I had offended some major figure. Later, I learned that Violet had seen Daniel visit the set while we were filming. She had always been interested in Daniel, and from then on, she developed a grudge against me. She not only made things difficult for me on set but also bought up negative news to ruin me. When Daniel found out, he was furious and helped suppress the negative press. He even threatened not to let Violet off the hook. After much persuasion, Daniel finally calmed down. It wasn't that I was a saint, I just found this mutual undermining pointless. When my agent Sophia came to see me, I was lounging on the sofa, exhausted. I had just finished a drama and needed a few days to rest. 3. She sat down next to me and paused the TV. The dating show we discussed last time has confirmed its guests. I lazily peeled off the face mask. Who are the guests? Sophia replied. The female guests are top star Violet, popular newcomer Luna, and you. The male guests are actor Daniel, top star Henry, and rising star Oliver. Hearing this lineup, I was stunned. The director certainly knows how to pick guests. One is my ex-boyfriend, and the other is the rival who recently had a spat with me. The dramatic tension is off the charts. If we don't get into a few fights on this show, it would be a waste of such a lineup. I'm not going. If I go, it will just be more scheming and I'll get criticized by viewers. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw Sophia's hesitant expression. Sis, they said each episode is worth 30 million. I jumped up from the sofa. What? You heard me right. 12 episodes, 30 million per episode. Sophia gave me a confirming look. I gritted my teeth and pounded the cushion. These days, money is hard to earn and hardships are difficult to avoid. This isn't a dating show. It's basically a money-giving treasure chest. As long as the money is good, I can smile brightly at Violet every day. 4. On the recording day, I chose a low-key shirt dress. The goal was to minimize my presence. When I arrived, Violet, Henry, and Oliver were already sitting on the sofa. When they saw me, everyone exchanged polite greetings. The atmosphere was filled with awkwardness. As we were trying to break the ice, the door to the living room opened. Daniel and Luna appeared at the doorway. Everyone stood up to greet them. As Daniel's status in the industry is very high, Luna greeted everyone with a humble demeanor, undoubtedly the sweet girl of the industry. Then Daniel was seated in the middle. During the seating, he glanced at me seemingly by chance. I ignored him, pretending not to see. The director then began the first game. Since everyone is meeting for the first time, we'll play a small game to test your compatibility. It was the famous, folded finger, game. The game rules were simple. One person states something they have done, and anyone who hasn't done it must fold a finger. The males and females were split into 2 rows, sitting facing each other. According to their ranking, I was opposite Henry, Daniel was opposite Violet, and Oliver was opposite Luna. Before the game even started, the comment section was already buzzing. The director knows what they're doing, arranging Violet and Daniel opposite each other. The atmosphere is so ambiguous. Even someone who doesn't ship them feels the sweetness. Who understands? Folks, Violet and Daniel are going to blow up. 5. The game started with Henry. Everyone placed their hands on the table. Henry thought for a moment and smiled. I haven't worked with any of the people here. With that statement, everyone folded a finger, leaving only Oliver standing. Next, it was my turn, and I already had a killer move planned. Evrion's eyes turned to me. I smiled and calmly said, I've gone shopping with my agent, and even worn the same dress. My good relationship with Sophia is well known, and shopping is a private activity that others wouldn't have done with Sophia. This round wiped everyone out, with some having already folded 2 fingers. When it was Daniel's turn, he smiled meaningfully. This gesture sparked Evrion's curiosity. Daniel, sitting on the sofa, still had the jasmine bracelet on his wrist. At this moment, the comment section was also looking for the same on Violet's wrist. As expected, Violet was wearing the same bracelet today. The director even gave close-ups of their hands, making it a shipping fan's paradise. Daniel smiled and looked at me. Among the female stars here, there's one who's my ideal type. With this statement, the comment section and the scene nearly went crazy. The comment section flooded with, "It's real," messages, covering the entire screen. You can imagine how wild the fans were, and the scene was in an uproar, with Henry laughing ambiguously and looking as if he was enjoying the drama. Daniel, are you playing this big of a game? Making us look so clueless with our earlier questions. Ha 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 ha. Everyone laughed together, and the initial awkwardness vanished. Daniel's half-smiling eyes looked at me, and I felt somewhat embarrassed. When I turned my head quickly, I saw Violet gazing at Daniel with admiration. Her eyes were so full of affection they almost seemed to overflow. 6. However, Violet's longing gaze was completely ignored by Daniel. After the game, everyone started picking their rooms. During the recording, we needed to live together here. Violet immediately grabbed the best room with a view, while Luna was more flexible. Luna and I chose from the remaining 2 rooms. When I went downstairs, it was just before the break. The cameras were off, and the director was going over the process. Daniel was lounging on the sofa in the living room, chatting casually with Oliver. Violet brought a cup of coffee over and placed it shyly in front of Daniel. People in the industry are sharp. Seeing this, Oliver quickly made an excuse to leave. Daniel's long fingers idly stroked the jasmine bracelet on his wrist as he spoke nonchalantly. "Miss Violet, do you need something?" Violet, with a beaming smile, no longer had the usual haughty demeanor. "Daniel, I didn't expect you to really come on this show. I'm very happy to be on the show with you." Daniel's jaw tightened as he didn't even glance at her. "I actually have something to ask you." Violet's face brightened, and she quickly grabbed Daniel's arm. "What is it?" Her voice was sweet, almost melting. Daniel frowned and pulled his arm away from Violet's grasp. "That photo you posted on Weibo recently looks very similar to the bracelet on my wrist. I'll assume it was unintentional, but as public figures, there are some things I shouldn't have to spell out." With that, Daniel's cold gaze was fixed on Violet's wrist. This made Violet's face turn pale. Daniel continued, "To avoid misunderstandings, please don't wear it anymore. As a top star, Violet is usually pursued by the media. She's never experienced such humiliation and immediately showed signs of anger and embarrassment. She lowered her gaze and smiled gently. I didn't consider it carefully. I won't wear it anymore. Daniel looked at her. You'd better not. Whoa. No wonder she won lead roles. She's really good at acting. Seeing the situation, I decided to leave. However, the footsteps on the stairs caught Daniel's attention. He glanced over at me. Chloe, where are you going? 7. I awkwardly chuckled and replied, just going to check if they need any help. Violet frowned and shot me a cold look. It was a stark contrast to her earlier friendly demeanor when the cameras were rolling. At that moment, Daniel stood up, walked over to me with his long legs. I'll go with you. Oh, I glanced at Violet, feeling hesitant. The next second, Daniel had already pulled me away. This move startled me, but fortunately, no camera was following us. During dinner, the program team had arranged 2 hours for us. The purpose was naturally to let the male and female guests get to know each other. Henry was a master of jokes, and Luna chimed in occasionally. The meal was quite lively. In the evening, we gathered in a circle to complete the final task of the day. Each person had to leave a message for someone they had in mind, either sincere or inviting. Only one message per person. Starting with the men. I generally don't care for these kinds of segments, so I didn't leave a voice message for any of the men. Oliver went first, and the remaining 5 each had their own thoughts. At this point, the system showed that Oliver had received a message from Luna. A round of excited applause erupted from the crowd, and even Oliver, usually unflappable, blushed. After listening to the message, Oliver smiled. The comment section went wild. A motherly smile from Luna. Oliver is really so pure. Yes, I think he and Luna are a perfect match. A pure boy with a sweet girl. I could ship them for 1,000 years. To the previous commenter, I like your script. Kill me and cheer them on. Oliver put down the headset and stood up. The message said, if you're willing to go on a date tomorrow, you should hug her. Oliver looked at Luna with shining eyes. I want to say, I'm willing. In the crowd, Luna shyly covered her face. Then, amidst everyone's cheers, she politely hugged Oliver. 8. The atmosphere was heating up, and it was now my turn. I didn't expect much, but I received 2 voice messages, one from Daniel and one from Henry. I looked surprised at the 2 men in the crowd. Obviously, my 2 messages caused a stir among the netizens. Did I see that right? Daniel actually left a message for Chloe. Oh my gosh. What a plot twist. Look at Violet's expression. She looks so unhappy. Aren't they a couple? Why is Chloe suddenly in the picture? The comment section also saw rational fans arguing fiercely with Violet's defenders. Some accused me of being fickle and intentionally flirting with Daniel on the show. Others defended me, saying it was Daniel who initiated contact, so it wasn't my fault. I listened patiently to both voice messages. Henry's message was very proactive and sincere, making it hard to refuse. He invited me to go to a water park with him the next day and hoped I would agree. Daniel's message, on the other hand, was much more practical, with just 8 words. Still not satisfied. Get back together with me. I looked at the arrogant Daniel in the crowd with some helplessness. What a dog. If there were cameras, Daniel would already be getting scolded. I smiled wryly, and after some thought, decided to hold back. Then, a second later, I broke. Screw it. If someone wants to tolerate him, let them. I'm not putting up with this dog. In the end, I agreed to Henry's date in the eager anticipation of the crowd. It wasn't really about anything else. I just didn't want to go on a date with my ex-boyfriend. Seeing that I chose Henry, Daniel's face darkened immediately. The low pressure around him was palpable, as if he was ready to lash out. I dared not look at Daniel's face. Thus, the subsequent date lineup was set. Oliver and Luna, I and Henry, Violet and Daniel. Each pair could choose their own venue for the date and spend a day getting to know each other. As soon as the lineup was announced, fans shipping Violet and Daniel were ecstatic. Violet's fans flooded the comment section with, "My wife is really impressive." Landing Daniel, tomorrow's trending topic. Here we come. This pair is really something. Their interactions have been continuous from the start. To the previous commenter, stop trying to save face for your favorite. Didn't you see Daniel's face darken when he was paired with your favorite? Yeah, how can you force the ship? Daniel is clearly interested in Chloe. Even though I don't like Chloe, Daniel's performance does seem genuine. Amidst the chaotic comments, the first episode ended. As I was packing up to go home, Daniel suddenly came into my room. He grabbed my waist and pinned me against the door. The atmosphere was intimate. I turned my head, forcing myself not to look at Daniel's affectionate gaze. His warm breath was close, his lips almost touching mine. Chloe, how dare you agree to go on a date with Henry? Daniel's tone was light, yet carried an innate sense of authority. I shifted uncomfortably in his embrace. What does it have to do with you, Daniel? Don't forget we've already broken up. Daniel suddenly curled his lips into a wicked smile. Break up? I never agreed to that. Faced with Daniel's unreasonable behavior, I felt a surge of frustration. People have their dignity, and a tree has its bark. A person without dignity is invincible in this world. Daniel, when did you become so shameless? Daniel's eyes darkened, and he kissed me on the lips. Knowing I couldn't stop him, I chose not to respond to his kiss. Daniel's lips brushed over mine, passionately caressing and sucking on my lips. His voice filled with emotion. Chloe, why must we break up? You know my feelings for you. I looked at Daniel. I've already explained the pros and cons to you. Daniel released his hold on me. I never saw that as an obstacle between us. What if I could handle it? Then let's talk about it when you've figured it out. Daniel was silent for a moment, said nothing, and left my room. I felt my legs growing weak, and instinctively sat down on the floor. When I was with Daniel, I was an absolute mess. How to describe it? I was 1,000 times more of a mess than I am now. When it came to Daniel, I always felt a sense of disparity. He was so famous he had to be wrapped up tightly even when going out. I didn't even need to wear sunglasses when I went out because I had no fans. It's quite sad to admit, but that's the reality. Daniel was incredibly good to me, almost to the point of pampering me. Many times, Daniel wanted to go public with our relationship, but I stopped him. With a top star like Daniel, there were many fans who were either his girlfriend fans or career fans. If we went public, I knew I couldn't handle that kind of public pressure. Going public would be like a collapse, and it wouldn't benefit either of us. Because of this, Daniel and I had many arguments. He said I was a scumbag for sleeping with him, but not giving him a title. He would even lie in my arms drunk in the middle of the night, crying and accusing me of treating him badly. I believe Daniel was truly deeply in love with me. Later, as Daniel's career soared, I was mired in scandals. I felt I had many issues with my mindset, and couldn't view my relationship with Daniel on equal terms. I felt unworthy of him. So, I broke up with Daniel. At that time, I had put a jasmine bracelet on Daniel's wrist. Do you know what the jasmine bracelet symbolizes? Daniel shook his head, just holding me reluctantly, burying his head in my neck. I said, the language of jasmine flowers is, with you, Jasmine, you are always pure and flawless in my heart. Daniel's eyes were red, his voice hoarse. So after you give me such a romantic gift, you're leaving. Don't you know how cruel that is to me? I smiled gently and brushed away Daniel's furrowed brows. Sometimes, parting is another kind of beauty. At that moment, Daniel cried uncontrollably. It was the first time I had seen him so out of control. His eyes red, he clutched my waist. Chloe, you're the first one who dared to break up with me. Then, Daniel slammed the door and left. We were apart for 2 years. During that time, Daniel tried to reach out to me, and pursued me through various means, but I didn't agree to any of it. After resting at home for 2 days, the show resumed recording. Early in the morning, they were preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Daniel was the last to come down. At that time, I was cooking eggs. Violet was originally sitting in the dining area eating breakfast. Seeing Daniel wash his hands and help me, Violet put down her sandwich. She came over with a seemingly kind offer. Is there anything I can help with? I glanced at her. In the morning, when I passed by the dining area, I saw her, struggling to spread peanut butter on toast. It was clear she didn't cook at home. I smiled and said, it's fine, it's almost done. You go ahead and eat. Daniel curled his lips into a smile and said lightly, it's enough with me here. It seemed polite but was essentially telling her to leave. Violet felt a bit awkward. nodded at Daniel, and returned to the table. Daniel won't even let my sister touch the kitchen. He must really cherish her. Look at their interaction just now. It's so sweet. True couples are so satisfying to watch. But some comments on the bullet screen were more honest. Are you blind? Can't you see Daniel has been sticking by Chloe's side? Yeah. Violet's departure seemed to improve Daniel's mood, and they're cooking and helping each other, really like a married couple. It's so obvious. I'm kind of into it. If this were before, there would have been no positive comments about me on the bullet screen. Perhaps because of Daniel's attitude towards Violet, many netizens started speaking up for me. After breakfast, we set off according to the team division from the previous episode. Henry was driving, and I sat in the passenger seat. He looked very stylish today, with a refreshing fragrance. It seemed he had put a lot of thought into this date. On the way, we chatted and laughed, and soon arrived at the local water park. When I came out in my swimsuit, Henry was waiting for me in the rest area. His face looked a bit unnatural, with a hint of shyness. I couldn't help but laugh. It turned out that such a social butterfly was actually a pure-hearted boy inside. Henry scratched his head and said with a smile, "Let's start with the shallow water area. What do you think?" He asked for my opinion on everything. A true gentleman. Just as I was about to reply, a magnetic voice came from behind. "This is our first time here too. Would you like to join us?" I turned around to see Daniel and Violet walking towards me in swimsuits. Daniel had a casual smile on his lips. In contrast, Violet's face wasn't very pleasant. I glanced awkwardly at Henry, who was clearly taken aback. Originally expecting a private date, suddenly two more people showed up. Henry forced a smile. "How did you two get here?" Daniel looked at me and said, "I didn't know where to go." "I think your suggestion sounds good." A mysterious silence filled the air until Henry broke it. "It's fine. Let's all go together. It will be more lively." As someone who could quickly pick up on the mood, Henry naturally kept the situation from going cold. The four of us walked towards the shallow water area. We had just been in the water for a short while, when Violet sat on the shore holding her stomach, looking quite uncomfortable. The crew gathered around, with an assistant taking care of her. This was an emergency, so Daniel, Henry, and I quickly got out of the water. Violet lay on a lounge chair, sweat on her forehead and her lips turned pale. Just looking at her was quite distressing. The filming continued, and the assistant asked Violet what she had eaten that day. Violet wiped the sweat from her forehead and weakly said, "I only had the breakfast Chloe made for me this morning. There was nothing else." As soon as I spoke, all attention shifted to me. The crew seemed stunned, not knowing how to react. Daniel frowned and looked at Violet, his tone serious. "I saw Chloe make breakfast today. There's no problem with it." Henry also confirmed that he ate the breakfast I made in the morning and didn't feel unwell, but Violet insisted it was food poisoning, making the atmosphere quite awkward. The bullet screen exploded with comments. "Sister looks really uncomfortable. I didn't expect Chloe to be like this. Oh my god, who would poison someone on a show? Chloe is too immoral. Thought she was nice before, but now she's completely turned black." Thanks. Seeing Violet's condition, the production team decided to send her to the hospital. The three of us continued filming. After this commotion, we lost our interest. Henry suggested we find a restaurant for a drink and wait for Violet's test results. 2 hours later, the test results came out, and the truth was revealed. It was acute appendicitis. Daniel went straight to the director, and I don't know what he said. When he returned, the director specifically instructed the crew to film Violet's medical report. This time, all the people who criticized me on the bullet screen were silenced. Some even spoke up for me. Looking at Daniel's noble profile, I felt a warmth in my heart. Since the last incident, Violet had lost a lot of fans. My reputation online had turned around instantly. Everyone said I was beautiful and kind-hearted, always preparing delicious food for everyone. In contrast, Violet ate my breakfast and then tried to blame me. The show was still ongoing, and Daniel and Henry had become competitors. Daniel served food, Henry rotated the table. Henry opened the door, and Daniel got in the car without a word. Even when Henry wanted to see me, Daniel had to follow. Fans even made amusing videos of these prominent scenes. I watched them too. They were truly laugh-out-loud funny. Our show became a hot topic due to the dramatic courting methods of these two. The director was very satisfied, believing the show achieved the expected effect. Only I, caught in the middle, felt quite awkward. I didn't want to choose anyone. Netizens were no longer shipping Violet and Daniel. Ever since Daniel pursued me to the water park, we gained a wave of CP fans. Now, fans were debating, who matched me better? Family, who understands? I went from being a marginalized, blacklisted star to suddenly being a hot commodity. Fans even listed me as one of the top 3 candidates in the entertainment industry's sister snatching competition. Whenever eligible male stars posted on social media, fans would definitely comment with my beautiful photos, and leave messages like, "Bros, have you seen this? I want this sister. Don't fight over her. Daniel is already 32. Let us have her first. Why should we give her to you? This is the sister I've chosen for my brother." Fans fought fiercely to get me. Our show had become a topic of discussion and entertainment for many people. The show quickly reached its final stage. In the end, Oliver and Luna became a real couple through the show. From the first episode, they were both committed. From start to finish, they were always sweet with no hints of drama. In the final episode, they confessed their love and kissed, making everyone envious. I was also moved to tears by their journey. After the show ended, we had a gathering. Just when my relatives arrived, I pressed my waist uncomfortably. During the meal, Daniel moved my chair next to him and carefully massaged my lower back. I was surprised. How did he know my waist was hurting? Daniel smiled and said softly in my ear, "Don't hold back next time. I'll take you home after dinner." I couldn't help but sigh. My ex-husband was really thoughtful. I thought that after the show ended, my interactions with Daniel would also fade away, but unexpectedly, he shamelessly moved into my house. He claimed it was for my convenience. In reality, he was probably afraid Henry would try to contact me privately. I smiled and chose not to confront Daniel. Recently, Sophia was negotiating new scripts for me. This was a period drama ep, with Daniel already cast as the male lead. Because the drama had high anticipation online, the investors were very particular about casting. In the end, they considered several popular young actresses as options. Unexpectedly, Daniel specifically requested me to play the female lead. When this news was released, it sparked a lot of discussion online. Some even commented on my Weibo, "Sister, just give our brother a title. It won't affect your career." I was a bit dumbfounded. Daniel really used every possible means to pursue someone. Later, it was the director who personally came to discuss with me. He only said I would have a chance to audition, and if I didn't pass, they would look for someone else. I felt much more at ease after hearing that. At least having acting skills made me feel secure. The audition scene was where the female lead discovers that the male lead has always loved her silently, and the misunderstanding was due to her hating the wrong person. It was a crying scene, meant to express the female lead's regret for her past mistakes. Several other actresses cried their hearts out and performed vigorously. When it was my turn, Daniel sat calmly next to the director, saying nothing. I silently recited my lines in my heart, and began to deliver them. As I spoke, tears flowed continuously down my face. I didn't burst into dramatic tears, just cried silently. The atmosphere on set became eerily quiet, with only my lines filling the air. After this scene, the director was still immersed in the plot, and didn't snap back to reality. Daniel was the first to applaud. Soon, the audition room was filled with applause. In the end, I successfully secured the role. When I officially joined the cast and began acting with Daniel, I felt like it was all a dream. Fans jokingly said, "Up-and-coming star." My dear, as for Daniel, he was incredibly flirtatious. He frequently flirted with me, in front of the crew, showing no regard for others' presence. Our behind-the-scenes photos were posted online by various fan sites, generating high buzz. I experienced firsthand what it was like to be in the limelight. Just as I thought I had firmly established myself in the top tier, an extremely detrimental incident occurred. A paparazzo suddenly posted a video on Weibo. In the video, I and the director went in and out of the same room, staying there for several hours. The video was wildly shared online. Some people even said they just started following me, and now I'm already in scandal. I carefully recalled that day. In the video, I indeed went into the same room as the director, but it was Daniel's room. That day, the director came to Daniel's room to give us a crash course on the key scenes for the next day. There were at least 3 or 4 staff members in the room who could testify to this. When the incident broke, Sophia immediately initiated crisis management. She clarified that it was a misunderstanding and issued a formal statement, explaining the situation of that day. However, the scandal was relentless. Different voices spread online, and there were even malicious rumors. This scale of online harassment was something I had never experienced before. When Daniel found me, I was in the makeup room. Seeing my swollen red face from crying, he gently rubbed my hair. "Don't cry. I have a solution." I looked up at Daniel. He smiled and took a seat next to me. Daniel pulled out his phone and showed me a video. The video captured the entire process of everyone entering Daniel's room that day, clearly and unmistakably. If this video were made public, all the misunderstandings would be clarified. I was curious. "How did you think of recording this? Do you think I've been in this circle for years without learning anything?" Daniel put down his phone. "Whenever it concerns entering or leaving hotels, whether male or female, it's important to be cautious." I then realized that Daniel, who often seemed unreliable, was actually very meticulous. Daniel managed to suppress the negative press single-handedly. He even uncovered the mastermind behind it. When I found out that Violet was behind this, I was still somewhat shocked. I never wanted to judge a woman with the worst possible intentions. However, Violet made me understand one thing. Some people, no matter how many chances you give them, will always choose the darkest side, hurting others and themselves. As the mastermind behind this incident, Violet was exposed online. Netizens quickly demanded that she leave the entertainment industry. As the saying goes, when the wall falls, everyone pushes. And netizens dug up a lot of Violet's past scandals. She had once been on hot search for animal abuse, slapped a fellow actor, and climbed into a famous director's bed, and so on. The list went on and on. Violet's reputation was completely ruined. That day, Daniel posted a Weibo update. "There's no one else in the industry wearing jasmine flowers and being popular. Just likes to piggyback." This sentence was obviously mocking Violet. Sophia was overjoyed. After all, it's much more entertaining when a guy does the job of putting a green tea bitch in her place. Thanks to this wave of buzz, our new drama with Daniel gained natural attention. After the show aired, Daniel and I became popular again. On the weekend, Daniel suddenly gave me 2 concert tickets. When I looked at them, they were for my favorite singer. It was for a world tour. Daniel looked at me, his smile particularly charming. "It's rare to have some time. Let's go to the concert." Daniel knew exactly how to cater to my interests. I nodded, quickly touched up my makeup, put on a hat, and went out with Daniel. When we arrived at the venue, it was already evening. The atmosphere at the site was great, with fans holding support banners and light sticks. As the concert started, Daniel and I sat quietly among the crowd, singing along with tens of thousands of people. I felt an unprecedented sense of freedom. I looked at Daniel beside me and suddenly felt touched. Even though he had done so much for me, Daniel never asked for anything in return. He had never even sought recognition in front of me. My heart fluttered, and I leaned in to whisper in his ear, "Daniel, let's get back together." Maybe it was the intense atmosphere or the loud noise. Daniel looked at me with disbelief. His eyes were a bit red, and he was so emotional that his lips were trembling slightly. "Chloe, are you serious?" I nodded. At this moment, I couldn't be more serious. Daniel suddenly smiled, then pulled me into his arms. "You troublemaker, only you know how to handle me." I smiled in Daniel's embrace. Suddenly, there was a wave of surprised cheers from the crowd. I looked up in confusion. The big screen was showing a close-up of Daniel and me hugging. All eyes in the venue turned to us, and my face instantly turned red. I then buried my face in Daniel's chest in embarrassment. Daniel smiled, his long fingers affectionately stroking the back of my head. The scene looked incredibly romantic. "Give them a kiss, give them a kiss, give them a kiss." The atmosphere was heated, and many people had recognized Daniel and me. Even the idols still performing on stage joined in, urging us to do a kiss cam. I stepped out of Daniel's embrace, smiling and waving my hand. Although I often face cameras, this scene still made me blush. In the next moment, a bold arm held the back of my head. Daniel's hot lips kissed me, our lips and teeth mingling, and our breathing became rapid. I climbed up Daniel's neck, kissing him deeper. The idol on stage couldn't help but joke. Whoa, 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 two people kissing, so rich. The scene was heated by our display, and the idol sang sweet songs. That night, Daniel and I kissing at the concert went viral on social media. Fans who shipped us were ecstatic, almost celebrating with drums and gongs. They celebrated their victory in the battle for the sister-in-law. At that time, Daniel posted a perfectly timed message. It's nothing special, just got the person I've always liked. This Weibo post quickly received over 1 million likes that night, maintaining high popularity. Fans, touched by the phrase, always liked, began to imagine the romantic past Daniel and I must have had. After getting back together with Daniel, he took care of me meticulously, outside of work hours. If he was seen anywhere, it was always with me. Even his Weibo bio changed to close boyfriend. I have to admit, Daniel was truly a love-struck fool. During our relationship, all his income was handed over to me. Even the marriage property was in my name. On the day of his proposal, he only invited a few of his closest friends. At the seaside where we first met, he got down on one knee. Chloe, I've imagined this proposal scene countless times in my mind. I always thought every detail of the proposal was important, but when the day actually came, I realized nothing mattered but you. The moment you walked towards me, I really had a hard time holding it together. I think all my luck in this life was used to meet you. Being with you, I always feel that a lifetime is too short, not enough for memories. I love you, more than yesterday, but less than tomorrow. Will you marry me? Daniel's eyes sparkled with a radiance I had never seen before. Deeply moving, I stood in place, suddenly feeling a mix of emotions. I spoke. Daniel, you always wear this jasmine bracelet. Do you know it has another meaning? Daniel looked a bit nervous, swallowed, and then shook his head. I smiled. May we never part, and support each other, Jasmine. As I finished speaking, Daniel's eyes were slightly wet, and I knelt down to wipe away his tears. The jasmine on your wrist is the beginning of a lifetime of romance. Daniel, I accept. I extended my hand, and Daniel, with trembling fingers, placed the ring on my finger. He held me close. Chloe, from today on, I will never let you go. From the initial excitement to eternal commitment, Daniel and I finally became a pair in the red candle's double shadows. Later, Daniel asked me why I liked watching him. I said I loved the way he looked at me when I looked away. Love never expires. Our love is always romantic.